Hi everybody. So I'm Gemma Milne. I'm the Product Development Innovations Project Leader for Alliance Group. Today I've been invited to talk to you all about, give you a bit of an insight into running on-plant trials and a few tips on things that we've learned over the years to make things run a little bit smoother, because they don't always. So I'm part of the Marketing Development Services team. Our team is based at the Longville plant, which is our largest sheep meat plant in New Zealand, and on the Southern Hemisphere as well. The team is headed by Gary McLennan, who many of you will know. Gary's been in the industry for 25 years and is very, very passionate about improving the eating quality of New Zealand lamb, and has a wealth of knowledge around chilled meat as well. At the top there we've got Joe Phillips and Sonia Lindsay, and they are both our technologists, so they run a whole lot of the sensory work and the meat quality program. So making sure that the product that is coming into our plants is producing a quality that's extremely good for our customers. Down the bottom you've got myself and Rebecca Main. Rebecca's at the back of the room. She joined our team 3 weeks ago and is a product development technologist, and myself and Rebecca are working on the new product development process within the Alliance Group. So our team is heavily involved in on-plant trials. They are very resource intensive, they take up a lot of time, but they are vital to making sure that we can improve the eating quality of New Zealand red meat, and help people like yourselves, the breeders out there, to produce a lamb that is meeting the expectations of our customers. So down at the Longville plant we have a wee innovation centre. At part of that innovation centre we've got a conference facility and kitchen where we run all of our meat quality testing. We do consumer taste panels, we do trained taste panels, and we also have a lot of customer visits. So we have Grand Farm in China that come along and help us do some R&D. We've got market partners from Germany and the UK who come along and do a lot of taste panels and try our product, which I think is really important. Out the back of that development centre we have an R&D area which has a small amount of processing equipment. And the most important thing about that is it allows us to take trials, which we would usually run on plant, off plant, and into a room which is purpose built. So it takes a lot of that pressure off our plants, and we can spend, our plants run from 7:30 in the morning till 4:30 day shift, and then 4:30 till 2 a.m. On night shift. But sometimes trials run for much longer than that, so it's nice to have a place where we can take it offline and take some of that pressure away from our plants. So some of the core activities that our team do get involved in is improving meat eating quality. So like I said, sensory panels, tenderness testing, customer audits. We run the chilled meat quality program for the group, so looking at how we can improve the shelf life of our product. Obviously we are a very long way from our markets, Invercargill particularly, so we need to make sure that we've got the life on that lamb or beef to make it into market and still have enough time to put onto retail shelves. Gary in particular is very heavily involved in meeting customer requirements and running technical queries for them. We get quite a lot of customer inquiries on the product, on the tenderness of the product, on the shelf life, and what we're doing to improve eating quality. So we field a lot of those questions. And more recently we've got really involved in new product development and looking at how we can add value to New Zealand red meat. Like was mentioned before, our team is heavily involved in the Omega Lamb project, and I think Amy's doing a bit of a session later which will cover some of that. But as you would have seen if you saw Country Calendar, it's a breeding and finishing program that's looking at developing the world's healthiest and tastiest lamb. We're really proud of the product that's come out of that program, but there has been a whole lot of work that's had to go on behind the farm gate, which our team's been involved in, and then also a lot of work in developing new markets for a premium product. A lot of the work that our team does is behind the farm gate, and we work with a lot of people like yourselves to look at how we can improve eating quality of that product. We get very heavily involved in beef and lamb genetics, progeny tests, SIL modules, etc. And also look at how we can improve our packaging. There's obviously a huge emphasis at the moment on sustainability and recyclability and less use of plastics. We think it's important, it's vital that our meat is in a barrier packaging system, which is always plastic and not always recyclable. So we're looking at ways that we can help with the sustainability of that. So down gauging, so we're using less plastic, reducing bag sizes so there's less wastage. So that's something that we're quite heavily involved in at the moment. And I think as time progresses, it's going to become more and more important. So Alliance Group, we process about 6 million lambs per year, and we have 6 ovine plants throughout the country. And the key thing to remember is all of our plants are very different, and that's really important when we are running trials. Some of our plants have robotic systems, so we need to make sure that any traceability systems we put in are able to be maintained through those robotic systems. Our slaughter chain at Lawnville runs about 8 carcasses a minute, which is equivalent to about 2,000 carcasses an hour or 35 metric tonne of carcasses through that lamb. If we're running a trial on that slaughter board, the chain doesn't slow down for us. We need to make sure that everyone's in place, on time, and they're ready to go when those lambs come up, because no one will wait for us. In the boning rooms, the chain runs about 12 carcasses per minute, or 720 carcasses an hour. Again, those rooms don't slow down for us. If we're running a trial, we need to make sure that everyone's in place, everyone knows exactly what they're doing before those chains start up. So some key considerations to note. Health and safety obviously is our number one priority. We want everyone who comes onto our plant to leave in the same condition that they arrived in, with all their fingers and all their toes. And so everyone who comes on site needs to have a health and safety induction. And people that are from off-site are always under the watchful eye of someone who is an Alliance employee to make sure that they are complying with health and safety requirements. And again, similar with the food safety requirements. And it's sometimes very difficult, if you're running a trial and you've got 40 people, when we run big progeny tests, there is 40 to 50 extra people that are having to come on site to help make sure things run really smoothly. And making sure they're all complying with food safety requirements is sometimes quite challenging. Quite often we use people like yourselves. We have farmers, we have university students that are just coming in to help. They've got a whole lot of extra gear that they bring in, so we need to make sure that that's all clean and it's not touching the floor, and just making sure people are aware of those sort of things. Production efficiency is obviously vital for us. Like I said, those chains continuously move. If we slow those chains down or something goes wrong and they have to stop, that's dollars that we're losing. And resource requirements are very thin on the ground, and that's why we rely on a lot of extra people to come in and help out. We can't rely on our plant processors or our supervisors in those rooms, because they have a job to do and they're extremely busy themselves. And like you can see from that picture, our rooms are crowded. They are not designed to run trials. They're designed to process meat quickly and efficiently, and there's never any space. And obviously saws, knives, slippery floors, all those things we need to take into consideration. Procurement. So as many of you will know, livestock space is at a premium during our peak processing times. We really value the work we really value trials. We know that it's vitally important that we do run trials, so people like yourself can improve the eating quality of your product. But we need to make sure that we can fit in with processing and make sure that the stock is booked in an efficient time. And obviously everything is for sales. We need to make sure we meet sales targets. Often when we're doing trials, we collect maybe the boneless loin, but sometimes those loins are needed for other markets, so we just need to make sure we can work around that. So ensuring things run smoothly, just a few tips. Planning. Planning is one of the most vital things that can help a trial to run smoothly. If we're doing a big trial, we like to have a written protocol, and we like to have that circulated to everyone within that team prior to the trial starting. In the past, we've had lots of changes that have happened sort of on the day of the trial. That really throws things. If we can hear about any changes as soon as possible, it makes things run a lot smoother. Plant trials usually, if we're doing pH testing in the trial in the chillers, it might start at 5 a.m. in the morning. If we're on a slaughter board, then things will kick off at 7:15. So we need to make sure people are there on time and inducted. So having people inducted the day prior is very helpful. And stock delivery times. We've had livestock teams waiting till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning for trial lambs to arrive onto plant because they know they're going to go up the chain first thing in the morning. Often trials are run at a couple of different plants, and sometimes stock has to travel a little bit further to get to those plants. So it's just vital that the yards are aware of what time that those lambs are going to arrive, and any delays are communicated in a timely manner. So some things that you can do on farm to help. ASD is obviously really important, making sure they're completed correctly and that mob eligibility is correct. Some of our rooms only process farm assured stock. So if the ASD isn't completed correctly and it says that they're not farm assured, then it can't go into that room. And if that's where we've planned to do the trial, then it's a whole lot of juggling around to make sure that either contacting the farmer to make sure that we can get the ASD changed, or having to change rooms, which isn't always possible. Our yards always tell us that trial mobs need to be clearly identified. Big highlighter marks over ASDs that say trial mob, or even marking the stock, so an orange stripe up the back of the leg or on the back of the carcass, just to help to identify them in the yards. And all of our lambs, all of our trials rely heavily on traceability. A lot of our plants now have EID readers, so they can read EIDs as they're coming up the slaughter chain automatically, but we have had instances in the past where EID readers have failed. If that happens, a lot of the traceability is lost and that's not able to be regained, which is a huge financial loss to the farmer and to the program. So we recommend ensuring that the ear tags that you're using are compatible with the EID readers, maybe contacting your rep to double check that. We are running trials at the moment to see which EID readers are more compatible with our system, and that information will be shared with you in due course. And if in doubt, we have manual readers, so we can take the ear tags and manually read those as they're coming up the slaughter board. And it's always good to have some advanced records, so matching EIDs to maybe lamb weights as they're coming off the farm. So then if there is an issue, we can cross-reference that. I think in a very important trial that we ran a few months ago, 6 months ago maybe, the EID reader did fail, and we were able to use DNA testing from carcass tickets to identify some of those lambs, but that wasn't always possible. On plant, always key to have sufficient resources. You can't stress that enough. Every little bit needs to have a person that can help out with it. Maintaining traceability is vital, right from slaughter through to boning and when that product is collected and stored for testing at a later date. We always use these bright coloured pink trial tickets. Trials in the past have used white ones. When you've got 2,000 carcasses an hour coming off the slaughter board into a chiller, it's very, very hard to pick out the trial lambs if they're not highlighted. So our chiller staff like us to use these bright pink ones so they don't get lost and they can shuffle them into the right chillers. And like I said before, plan for the environment. A lot of our plants have robotic systems now, which cut the carcass into primals. We can't keep the pink trial ticket hanging on the gamble, so we need to make sure that that ticket is inserted into the fowl of the carcass, so when it goes through the robotic system, we can maintain traceability with the animal. So trials are really, really important. They are heavily resource intensive, but it all does pay off in the end. And this is just an example of some sort of behind the farm gate and some benchtop research that we have done in the past that has now been implemented into our plants. So it's inline measurement of meat quality using a hyperspectral imaging camera. The first photo there is of the benchtop work in conjunction with ag research that we did for a number of years, looking at how we can use hyperspectral imaging to predict meat quality. And after a number of years, we have now implemented that into one of our primal cutters at our Smithfield plant. So it basically takes a photo of the lamb loin, and then that photo using algorithms can then predict pH, intramuscular fat, fatty acid profiles, etc. And the good thing about this is we're now able to use it to put a range of animals through, and I know a lot of you in the past have put animals through a Smithfield plant, and then you're able to get a report at the end of it, which is able to tell you the pH of those animals, the intramuscular fat of those animals, and any other data that we can collect. And then that can be used then to develop breeding programs that can create a product that is desirable for the consumer. So in summary, planning is critical. We need most plant trials run really, really smoothly. And if we've planned and we know exactly what's happening, then they will go really well. And we totally believe at Alliance that R&D is vital, and then we will support any breeder or any program that wants to come through and run an R&D trial with us. And the key thing is assume nothing and always plan for the unexpected, because it will go wrong if it can. Thank you.
Yeah, this question's for Gemma or someone else in the audience. We're all sheep farmers here and breeders, but do we actually know the unique qualities of grass-fed lamb? I mean, we know the qualities of a broccoli or a blueberry and what's good about them, but do we actually know that?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work in the past looking at the nutritional qualities of grass-fed lamb. We know that grass-fed lamb has a much higher omega-3 level than any grain-fed product. And that's quite a significant jump. Obviously, it's iron, zinc, protein, all of those good things. But the thing that kind of distinguishes grass-fed lamb from any other, from grain-fed, is the omega-3 levels and the fatty acid profile.
Yep. Hi, Gemma. Hey, we saw the graph there about the IMF, and there was an average of 3.5 or something was your average IMF. Where should we be aiming on that scale? And where are some of your top suppliers getting to now?
So we're looking for an IMF above 2. And I think Ag Research have been doing some taste panels today at lunchtime or at break, looking at different sort of IMF levels. With some of the programs that we've got in place, we're getting IMFs of greater than 4. We've got some really good animals that are coming through with the IMF of 6+. But I think on average, you'd be looking at sort of above 2.
So some of your groups like Tamana and that, whereabouts are they on that graph?
Amy might be the best person to answer that one. But I think, anything for a Tamana lamb, we're looking at an average of probably 3.5.
Thank you.